In the heart of southeastern Massachusetts lies a strange region, an area that's steeped in mystery, very odd sightings and occurrences, as well as a lot of dark true crime tales. Because this place is so weird, and there are so many experiences by people, well, it's received a well-earned name that's synonymous with unexplained events. And this one is the Bridgewater Triangle. And chances are, if you live outside New England, you probably haven't heard of it. In fact, a lot of people in Massachusetts don't even know what it is, but if you're from the Bridgewater Triangle itself, and any of the towns inside it, then you absolutely know all about its strange history, and might even have some first-hand experiences of your own. If you're unfamiliar, the Bridgewater Triangle is a roughly 200 square mile area, whose triangular points are marked by the towns of Abington, Rehoboth, and Freetown. Inside the triangle lies the communities of Taunton, Raynham, Berkeley, Dighton, Brockton, Easton, and Bridgewater. There's no exact hard edge on what defines this place, just like many of the other famous triangles from around the world, and the edges bleed over. But the defined area gives you a good sense of where all the weird is happening. And per square foot, some say this place has more unexplained occurrences than the Bermuda Triangle. The reason for that is simple, because it has a long and dark history. And the question then becomes, is it the dark history itself that has left its mark on this place, which explains what people experience here? Or are the grounds themselves some sort of entryway or window area, as they have become known, that has energies that we just don't understand? And maybe it's a mix of both. The name Bridgewater Triangle was first coined back in 1983 by author Loren Coleman, who wrote a book called Mysterious America. In it, he goes into some of the details as to why perhaps this place is so odd, but really there's no one single answer. But one reason that is widely believed to be part of the cause, without a doubt, is because it has such a long and storied history. For example, the Bridgewater Triangle is the exact location where the bloodiest battle per capita ever occurred in United States history. And what that means is that of the men who took part in it, the majority of them were killed. We'll get back to that more in detail in a moment. But first, as to what people are actually experiencing here that makes it so otherworldly, well, it's a whole bunch of things. Chris Balzano is a bit of an expert on the area. Spent a lot of time there writing several books about folklores in general and detailing the Bridgewater Triangle. According to Chris, anything that you want to be in the triangle is in the triangle. It's a Pandora's box. So if you're into zombies, there's stories about zombies. If you're into Bigfoot, he's there. If you're into puckwudgies, that's kind of puckwudgie central. If you're into ghosts, you've got it. UFOs, they're all there. It is perhaps because of this wide range of occurrences that it's hard for those outside this place to take the triangle seriously. It seems very convenient that there's every sort of strange phenomenon here. But if it is the land itself, somehow aligned in a way that creates an open door to another dimension, then it makes perfect sense that you could see all sorts of strange things. And so, let's start with the facts. In order to understand the Bridgewater Triangle, we first have to travel back to a time long before the United States even existed, when the land was inhabited by the Wampanoag people. The Wampanoag revered this land, considering it sacred, but they also feared it, believing it to be a place where the spirit world crossed into our own. One of the most infamous locations within the triangle is the Hockomock Swamp, named by the native tribe there. And Hockomock translates to literally place where spirits dwell. In Wampanoag legend, they spoke often of the Puckwudgie people, which means little wild man of the woods. Puckwudgies are creatures said to stand around 2 or 3 feet tall with pointed ears, and they're thick and sturdy, troll-like in their purest form. But Puckwudgies are shapeshifters, something Native Americans talk about often, and they can appear and disappear at will. The natives believed they were at one time friendly to people, but then turned against them, Why exactly is unknown. According to their lore, a person who bothers a Pukwudgie would be subject to nasty tricks by it. And by nasty, I mean luring people to their deaths, pushing them off cliffs, shooting them with poison arrows and things like that. So essentially, the place was guarded by these creatures or demons, depending on how you looked at it. And interestingly, when colonists arrived to the Hockomock Swamp, they went on to name it Devil's Swamp. They have to wonder why two different cultures named this place with a negative connotation. Likely because there is some negative energy emanating from it somehow. The colonists didn't just simplify the name the natives had given it, and they didn't follow their lead at all because they were sworn enemies, as you're probably aware. And that bloodiest battle I mentioned earlier, and that was a war between the Native Americans and the English settlers. It was called King Philip's War, and occurred in the mid-1670s, and it was brutal, and it all happened right inside the Bridgewater Triangle. It saw somewhere between 70 to 80% of the natives who fought in it being killed, around 25% of the settlers. It ended when Wampanoag chief Metacom, also known as King Philip, was captured, hung, beheaded, and then drawn and quartered. His head was literally displayed on a spike for the next 100 years at Plymouth Colony after that. And so because of the brutality that occurred here, many people say there's a stain on this land that has never and probably will never go away. Unfinished business, so to speak. And so when you travel to this place, you can sense something in the air, something that lingers there from long ago. In more modern times, specifically beginning in the late 70s, all the way into the 90s, and perhaps into today a bit, the Triangle was known to be an area for satanic rituals, even cults. Throughout the woods, there are lots of makeshift buildings, many crudely put together, and inside these, if you dared to check them out, you could find some scary things. Police officers and regular folks just out for a hike have found all sorts of symbols that would suggest people were using them for the dark arts. Graffiti with upside-down crosses, pentagrams. There's also lots of rock formations that crop out from the land, some forming shallow caves where you'll find the same sort of symbols, as if they were used as places of worship. And more disturbing than that were animals found who looked to have been sacrificed. All sorts, too. Cats, dogs, deers. And many were found completely drained of their blood, only no blood was found near them, as if the liquid had been stored away for another use, and then the carcasses discarded. And Fall River is a town that sits just outside the Bridgewater Triangle. In the 1970s, it saw a series of brutal crimes linked to a satanic cult. In fact, it's widely believed that these killings were the start of the satanic panic in the 1980s that washed over the U.S.
Possibly satanic messages on some rock music recordings.
I have a whole video covering that story, so I'll link it below if you want to get more details. But essentially, a lot of ladies died courtesy of a man named Carl Drew, who created his own little bubble of a cult. He had others join in on the murders, and they would become known as the Fall River Cult Killings. And he hid out in the woods in one of those huts and performed rituals on the land where the Bridgewater Triangle sits. And some believe that these violent events have left a mark on the land, causing the forest to be cursed, a place where evil lingers waiting to claim its next victim. The town of Raynham, which sits in the Triangle, saw its most vicious act ever committed on their land here back in 1978 with the killing of 15-year-old Mary Lou Arruda. It was September 8th of that year, the infamous day in the town's history when the girl was abducted off her orange bicycle, was found 9 weeks later dumped in the woods. And the details are really a bit too gruesome to get into here. Once again, you have to ask, well, did these sadistic killings just happen to take place in this area by chance, or did the area somehow have something to do with causing them? Beyond just these tangible truths, there are more otherworldly happenings here. Take the reports of a creature that locals have dubbed the Beast of the Swamp. Described as a large, hairy, man-like figure similar to Bigfoot, the beast has been spotted by countless witnesses over the years. Some claim it to be more urban legend, product of overactive imaginations, but those who have seen it with their own eyes speak of a terror that feels all too real.
When I saw that creature, I believe it was meant to be, because something wanted me to see it. Therefore, something eventually wanted me to investigate this triangle area.
The skies above also have their own stories to tell. Witnesses have reported seeing mysterious orbs of light floating silently above the treetops, their movements defying all laws of physics. Others have seen what they can only describe as UFOs darting across the night sky. Perhaps the most famous UFO sighting in the triangle occurred on a cool fall evening back in 1976. Two police officers patrolling in their cruisers spotted a large, brightly lit object hovering over the trees. They watched in awe as the object shot straight up into the sky with incredible speed, disappearing in an instant. Despite a thorough investigation, no explanation was ever found. And then there are the haunted locations scattered throughout the triangle, each with its own story of ghost sightings and apparitions. Because so many people have died on this land, it's hard to say who's who, but one of the more freakier legends takes place on Route 44, along the side of the road near the Seekonk-Rehoboth town line. They call him the red-headed hitchhiker, and he can be seen sporting a red beard, wearing jeans and a plaid flannel shirt. And if you pick him up, he'll hop in and ask to be taken up the road about 15 minutes. But when it's time to drop him off, he's no longer there. With all these weird things going on, some researchers believe that the Bridgewater Triangle isn't a singular phenomenon, but rather part of a larger global pattern. As mentioned, similar triangles exist around the world, areas where the veil between worlds is thin, and the strange and supernatural bleed into our reality. The Bermuda Triangle, the Dragon's Triangle off the coast of Japan. And could it be that all these places are all connected by an invisible thread, a network of mystery that spans the globe? And these are quote-unquote window areas in the world. It might be possible that the land itself is somehow conscious, alive in a way we can't comprehend. Those who don't believe any of that stuff claim that the idea of the Bridgewater Triangle and others like it are just a way of keeping stories going and a way of entertaining ourselves, even if it's done unconsciously. The idea that once an area gets a reputation, well then, every single noise or light then becomes something much bigger than it actually is. The same way if you go into a supposed haunted house, any sound or creak of a door then becomes proof of a ghost. We'll likely never really know what's happening at the Bridgewater Triangle, at least not anytime soon, and so it remains one of America's most mysterious places. Despite the countless investigations, the region refuses to give up its secrets. For now, it remains a place where the known and unknown collide. As long as the triangle stands, it will continue to draw us in. And at the very least, the next time you find yourself traveling through southeastern Mass, well, keep your eyes peeled. You never know what might be lurking just beyond or above the tree line, ready to remind you that the Bridgewater Triangle is more than just a place on a map. It's a weird mystery that may never be solved. So there was the Bridgewater Triangle mystery, and thanks for tuning in. If you want more content like this, remember to subscribe and also check out our Patreon for even more episodes that we put out each week. Plus, you get access to over 150 other exclusive videos and podcasts. I appreciate you stopping by. You guys stay safe out there. I'll see you in the next one.